Right, I've hit the button. How are you? I was going to call you Ape. T.O. Why did I say
Whoa.
Ape? That's weird.
Oh, they're calling
Straight
me
off the
Gene
bat.
in the chat, and then you're disrespecting me right at the beginning of the show. I'm out of here. Bye.
You're gone. You're gone already.
Nah,
dear.
This is controversy. I love controversy.
This is controversy because we're going to talk. We're going to badmouth FT8, right? We're going to talk all smack about it. We're going to say how terrible it is. No, we're going to have a bit of a discussion, and we want your discussions to also fill the chat and also the comment section later on for those on replay.
Did this guy fall asleep, or is he really just calling CQ that much?
Well, see, this might be one of the problems that we're going to discuss tonight. Now, I'm not calling out this one individual person, but there could be some problems with constantly calling CQ. But we'll get into that a little bit later on. That just so happens to have landed there because I've got my FT8 screen running, and he must have just popped up on my waterfall on my frequency. So I've decoded
to be fair, he's
calling CQ.
The only one.
There is not a lot happening at the moment. Definitely, there is not a lot. So,
you're on 10 meters. That's why.
I am on
Andy.
10 meters. So, saying hello to a few people. As you said, hello to Andy. Andy's popped back after he said, see you later. He's always the first in the chat, of course. Big Jim's there. Hello to Norm, Lee. And even we've got Baltimore Mike as well has popped in, as always, which is great to see your chat. Who else? Who did I miss? Have I missed someone else?
Everybody.
Everyone else in the chat, but particularly
Jeff, James, and one JUR,
particularly those particular people that we called out there. They are channel members and Patreons. So thank you very much. And if you'd like to become a supporter, then you can do so very, very easily. There is a link in the description to do that. But FT8, okay. So FT8 saved ham radio before POTA saved ham. Oh, okay. Yes. So, T.O., what's killing ham radio these days?
Grumpy old men.
That was not the that was not
that was not the rehearsed answer.
That was not the rehearsed answer, but it is a good one. We've got
people complaining about ham radio is killing ham radio. People who are just operators are killing ham radio. I don't know. Everything is killing ham radio. Grumpy old man hat on.
If you haven't seen it in the chat, we do have a poll, and we are asking, what do you think about FT8? What's your opinion on it? Is it awesome? Which currently is leading at 75% of the vote. Do you hate it? 6%. Or have you never used it? And surprisingly, 20% of you have never used FT8 before. So if you want to learn more about FT8 and what it's all about, then there are some videos on both of our channels that we've done about FT8. So you can go
on mine
and check
and
those
on
out.
his.
Yes, and they are beginner's guides, and they will guide you through it. Ken, me, Grumpy? I don't know.
Ken, it's up to you to identify as grumpy or not. I just said grumpy old men are killing ham radio. If you believe you are a grumpy old man, then you need to do your part and be, killing ham radio or be less grumpy. Take your pick. It's up to you.
Well, you can just be grumpy. You just can't be an old man. Or you can be an old man, just not be grumpy, right?
That's better.
If you're both, that's the problem. Grumpy young men. Yes, there are plenty of grumpy young men as well, Lee. So we are all about that. FT8. So this stream sort of came about due to some comments which I received in the... I get them sort of all the time on videos and things. That is exactly right. The DX today is killing ham radio. You are right, Mike. The DX today. Mike's good. I'm sure that he's having a lot of fun. There's too much FT8. FT hate. I don't understand why people care about what other people do. Me using FT8 doesn't affect the CW crowd. So
plenty of bandwidth to go around.
There is plenty of bandwidth to go around. I received a lot of messages on some of my videos which are to do with FT8, and there was some people that put comments really recently about FT8's killing ham radio because everyone's moving from single sideband or CW or these other traditional modes, AM, and moving to FT8, and it's just computer to computer. And there's no skill required. There's no operator involvement. There's no interesting thing that happens. There's all of that sort of stuff. So we kind of we've discussed this before, and a few people have discussed this. And really, it comes down to, I think, FT8 filled a little bit of a void where there was no band activity or low band activity due to the bottom of the solar cycle. Things were sort of dead, and it allowed you to make contacts at the bottom of those cycles. And I think that a lot of stations are still just continuing FT8 because, it's pretty convenient, right? You get to make a lot of contacts pretty easily. But as you can see, like what I showed today's a perfect example because on 10 meters, right now, things are a little bit dead. There's not a lot happening. I went up and down the SSB portion of the band. I didn't hear anything. I'm not seeing much on the waterfall there, and I'm just putting that down to just bad conditions at the moment. But even though there are bad and poor conditions, look at all these stations that keep coming in. So I can still work all of these stations. So I guess the point that we're trying to make here, Tio, is that is it really a bad thing, or is it actually helping ham radio? What's your opinion, and what's everyone else's opinion in the chat?
I think that it has really brought a resurgence back into ham radio, and I think that as a result of people doing that, they have gained some confidence to do other things. I mean, it's all relative to what interests you at the moment. This is a hobby of 1,000 hobbies. You can go with your ham club and play POTA without ever touching a radio or a logbook or anything and still have fun doing it. You can just be the camp chef if you'd like, and that's a valuable and appreciated position. So don't pick up a mic. Doesn't matter. You can still have fun with the gang. That's what it's all about.
Mike makes a good point here. A great mode to make contacts while day trading. I won't admit to doing that, but sure, it is. I have done that before, and it's good to be able to work FT8, working FT8 at work remotely because you have it off to one side on the screen, so you're still sort of doing ham radio when you probably normally wouldn't be able to. So one of the things that, and Liberty Cave here says about 6 meters, is the other day you would have noticed in the thumbnail photo of the screenshot was from the other day when I worked Mexico on 6 meters. And I just wouldn't have been able to do that on SSB with the signal levels that were involved. I wouldn't have been able to do it. If I had have been a competent CW operator and the other end was also a competent CW operator with good ears, we probably could have made the contact. But we were able to do it
One of your skills were lacking.
With FT8. One of my skills. It's definitely
no. One of the two. You or the other guy. One of those two people had lacking skills. I didn't say who it was, but thank you for identifying it was you.
Yeah, it was me, definitely. So in that case, FT8 was really good. I think that talking about SSB and it's kind of like this. There's a lot of this idea that people have shifted. They've shifted from SSB to FT8, and I can kind of understand where they're coming from there, because you imagine if the amount of stations that we see on an FT8 waterfall were actually calling CQ, the bands would be absolutely bananas, and there would be stations all over the band. So I think one thing that we probably should point out too is that if you're seeing some super strong signals, so obviously today, that, like I just showed, this is on 10 meters. I haven't been to any other band today. Let's go to 20. I'm not sure if 20's also quiet. We've just had that that solar storm come through. Now, yeah, see, 15 meters is also a little bit quiet too. But if you're seeing like really, really strong signals on the waterfall, like everywhere, and you're getting, let me zoom up here, if you're getting plus signal reports, so at the moment, what am I getting? I'm only getting like these, where's my mouse pointer? There it is. I'm only getting all these minus reports. Once they start getting above 0 and you start to getting the positive numbers, why not jump on SSB and call CQ and jump off FT8 for a little while and just see who you work? Because that will mean that the band's open, it's strong. There's probably not much point to be on FT8 during very, very strong signals if you're trying to chase stuff. Then certainly jump on FT8 if you're doing DXCC or whatever you're trying to do. But maybe we can just pop up back onto SSB occasionally and call CQ. Grab the microphone and push the microphone button and see how it goes. Tio's got no opinion, which is the best way to have it, right?
I have no opinion whatsoever. Yeah, no, but I do like what
you're saying.
Lewis has to say.
You're saying use all the modes, basically, is what you're saying.
Use whatever excites you at the moment it excites you. Today was a good day to be on sideband in a park in Central Texas, and that's what I did. 45 contacts in an hour. And I'm also an avid FT8er, yeah.
Yeah. And g'day, Lewis. Thank you very much. Lewis is always messaging me and giving me support, and I appreciate it. So thank you very much, Lewis.
Oh, contact.
See, this is what happens when you leave your FT8 just running there. You get these wily operators like Big Jim trying to call you on FT8. So let's do that. So what's your opinion on this FT8 killing ham radio business? Because you did have an opinion off air, and I
totally forgot what that was, but I think it's total nonsense. I think people just like to complain about things that they don't. Yeah, I said bullshit. I think it's total bullshit that people complain about things that they probably know nothing about and are actually just a little scared to try, and they feel threatened, but they really, have nothing to worry about. So FT8, if you really think about it, you have the ability to get 60 signals in the same bandwidth of one SSB contact. So if anything, it's SSB that's killing FT8, not the other way around.
There was a lot of concern about FT8 being a problem with, well, we have all of this spectrum, so what's the point? Why don't we just confine everyone to this small section of each band, and then everyone can just do FT8? I think that was one of the comments that I received in my video somewhere during the week. But there are and that kind of implies, people are sort of implying there that it's like, well, no one's using SSB at all, which is not true. It's always there. Someone I didn't see in the chat, someone else mentioned that they worked. Yeah, here we go. WEC9B 20 meters SSB yesterday was cramped, which is fantastic. That's great to see.
That's Bo, the Lion Hawaiian.
Well, see, I wouldn't know that because he's changed his call sign, a bit like Jim changed his call sign. So, and I think that Jody's probably got it right. FT8, the SSB gateway drug. So
sure.
We've talked about this before, and we've said that for people that have who are starting out and have mic fright, it's probably a good place to start, right? Get on the air with.
Yeah, I mean, you can't go wrong with that. And so while I was in the park, there were people who were acting foolish on the bands and not identifying themselves and showing their green-eyed monsters. But I've still made my way through it. And if every experience that everybody has when they go out to play radio is like that, no one's going to want to talk to anybody else.
No. And, you can kind of imagine that. Jim, you're not replying to me, so I'm just going to try and work Liberty Cave here instead. So you need to ham harder, mate.
Well, Liberty Cave also isn't cheating. Jim is cheating.
Is Jim cheating? How is Jim cheating?
I'm sure he's using a remote station.
Okay. Let's... We'll people call me on 15 meters, see if I can get you. By the way, I'm running 50 watts, and that probably brings us into our next point of discussion, but we'll go through some of these other chats that we've got here to get through. Taylor complaining about FT8 or its bandwidth is like bitching about the airline seat being too small when you truly should buy two.
Right.
Randall, what makes people think that if other hams couldn't do FT8, they would talk to them instead? Good point. Andy has been a member for 30 months. Congratulations, Andy. That's a long time. Thank you very much for the support. 2.5 years. I don't have my dance thing. What did we do last night? And we also will take requests to not dance as well. Thank you, James, KI5MBO, who has become a new YouTube member, and N1JUR, Amateur Radio, has also become a YouTube member. Thank you very much. Appreciate
Check out
the support.
N1JUR's channel one day.
Good? What's...
Fantastic.
Oh, great. I'll add that into my list of subscriptions of the long, ever-increasing subscriptions of ham radio channels. Which, incidentally, Kyle, A0Z, has a massively long list, which is available somewhere of every
like 500 or 600 channels. It's amazing.
Yeah. My wide graph is 100. Is it? What's it set at? Is it set at something else?
You're not sharing your graph anymore.
No. Now, that's right. We're going to talk about power. Let me just disable my transmit for a minute. So at the moment, I'm running probably about 30 watts, and just before I started the stream, I actually got a message from somebody who said, please bring this up, and it is a valid point. There is another problem that FT8 also can cause, and Don will probably appreciate this because I'm going to be talking about IC7300s here. Apparently, there's some people that have problems with running very high powers on FT8. Now, it's the whole war criminal, you're running too much power on FT8.
There's no such thing as too much power on FT8.
No, there isn't. However, you do need to be a little bit careful about the...
Splatter.
The splatter is the first thing. And also your final outputs, so your power amplifier. You don't want to strain it too much because FT8 is a high duty cycle mode, a little bit like AM, a little bit like FM. Not like SSB. SSB is different. So FT8, if you are running lots of power at a, and you're calling CQ constantly over, like say if I... wsjt-x has a watchdog timer in it that stops you from transmitting constantly all the time. However, you can disable it. So if you disabled it and you just were calling CQ just absolutely constantly, your radio is going to be under quite a bit of stress, especially if you're running very, very high power, and your finals will probably get a little bit toasty warm, which is what you want to avoid. The same too with if you're running a power amplifier as well. And apparently the IC7300s, a few people have been cranking them right up to 100 watts all the time.
And they work just fine.
And I've had no problems with mine running 100 watts, but I don't run FT8 sort of constantly on HF all the time. I'm on, some of the higher bands, and I sort of watch when it's open. So I'll run 100 watts on, because that's all the power that I've got on 10 meters and 6 meters, which is the main place that I hang out on. But some of these other bands, especially when, like some of these signals here on 15 meters, they're pretty good here. So these are ones from Japan. So I would back off the power to 25, 30 watts, whatever, 50 watts, and not run it flat out. Same too, you spoke about splatter. You want to make sure that you back it off so that you've got little or zero ALC, because otherwise you'll be overdriving driving your amplifier too hard.
If your radio has a waterfall that displays when you transmit, you should actually really be able to look at the waterfall signal that you're producing and go, I bet I could decode that if I drew it out on paper. It's really, if you clear up your signal just right, it really does look really, obvious that it's a digital signal.
Well,
left, right, left, right, left, right.
Having a look here at the waterfall, everything looks, relatively clean here. These all look like legitimate signals, which is good. So I don't really have an example here of a splattered signal. I'll try and find it as we go on so that you can see what we're talking about. But that would be as a result of driving your radio too hard. But we've done guides before on how to set that up. So and look, here's an example of another problem with FT8 is people being pirates and pretending to be you. There we go. Look at that. There's always one, isn't there?
Somebody's calling CQ as you.
Someone is calling CQ as me. It's interesting that wsjt-x actually picked that up as my own call sign. So
Can you work him back?
I probably could, yeah. And now look, they're working. All of these other stations are trying to work him, and that's not going to be a legitimate contact because it's not me. So there you go. There's always a moron out there, isn't there?
At least,
Dom,
yep.
2 years. FT8 is made for us with high noise floors. Member for 2 months. Thank you very much. Definitely high noise floors. They can kill normal operations. So FT8 helps as well. Grid Creeper, thank you for becoming a YouTube member. Appreciate that. Welcome. Let's see more VHF plus FT8. Oh, yeah. So I've done FT8 all the way up. Actually, the highest band I've done FT8 on is 3.4 gigahertz.
Ooh,
so
nice.
that was pretty fun. Geez, I tell you what, this pirate station's got a pretty good signal because look at all these stations that can hear him. So there you go.
Why not just work their own call sign and get all that glory?
Oh, I know some people just want to be me, I suppose. Is that what it is? Hayden, if you're going to try to work subscribers, can you please move to a non-standard frequency?
Yeah, so you're on 21074. Move to like 21070 as an example, if it's clear.
I could move there, but the purpose of the stream was not to work subscribers. They've been calling me. So,
but you can, and that's the cool part.
I definitely can. So, because if I was on a non-standard frequency, like 070, like that, there you go. Now we'll wait. We'll wait for people to call.
So Greg's asking why move, and that's because I guess the short answer is because you can, but it adds a free space where nobody else is trying to FT8 and nobody would step on top of you or things along those lines. And there's nothing wrong with it, but if you're just out to try and make random contacts with people, you want to stay on the standard frequencies because everybody's on the standard frequencies, of course. So
you mentioned 21074, so we've gone down now 4 kilohertz, so you can see that all of that band activity is now gone, so we've shifted away from everyone else who is in the waterfall there. So we're in a spare slice of spectrum there. So let me go back, and I'm having to reshare these screens and go back and forth. Okay, back on the power issue. Don, 600 watts FT8 or less is QRP, folks. Yes. So there are times where you do have to run QRO with even with FT8, and especially on some of the bands where, like we talked about VHF, you're probably not going to work too many people unless they're local on, local to your station on those frequencies. So there you go.
There you go. Dan has found you.
Calling CQ. Cool.
Yeah. So you were trying to work Jim and Liberty Cave on stream earlier, speaking of power, and you were not able to make the contact, which means you were not using enough power because you could hear them, but they could not hear you. How much power are you running?
I was running about 20 or 30 watts out. So it's either A, not enough power, or they also have, if they're not hearing me, they might also have a higher noise floor than me as well.
Right, Chris?
So that could be another issue. And to break through that, which Don mentioned before, you need to either crank your power up or get a better antenna. Either one's, what you might be after.
Oh, I see Eric and Jim and Dan.
Ham till it hurts. FT8 is weak signal mode, not a low power mode. Exactly. And sometimes you need to increase that that signal that's either not there or very, very weak to just slightly less weak. Is that a double negative?
Slightly less weak?
Yeah, I think it
is.
So
not as weak as weak?
So N1JUR. WSJTZ. Okay, let's talk about WSJTZ.
Yeah, don't use it. Yeah. I mean, do, because you're amateurs and you're experimenting, and that's what radio is all about. But don't.
So there is a big difference between auto sequence and auto CQ. So here in, as you can see there, wsjt-x, which is the OG flavor, the official supported version of FT8, if you want to call it that, it has an auto sequence mode. And what that does is If I double click on any of these call signs, what it'll do is it will go in, it will call that station, it will wait for a response, it will call them again with the next appropriate message, and so on and so forth until the contact is complete, which means that it still requires you to find the station. Geez, Jim's signals come up now. It still requires you to find the station and work it. You can untick auto sequence if you're really worried about, because people don't like the automatic stuff. If you don't like that, untick auto sequence, and you can manually send the signal report if you really want to. Now, that's auto sequence. Auto CQ, though, that automatically calls CQ. It will work the first station that calls you back, and then once the contact is complete, it will continue and go back to calling CQ. And that is where it becomes a problem, because people just leave their radios calling CQ day and night, and all of a sudden within a week they've worked DXEC or something like that, which, requires no effort. You're not doing anything really. You're just letting it run, which I don't know. I don't agree with that. You probably
it's a bit how you do it, eh?
It is a little bit. So auto CQ mode, and plus auto CQ mode is probably one of those good ways to wreck your finals in your radio, because it's going to be transmitting 50% of the time, all the time. So
right.
There you go.
Randall's in there now too.
So everyone's jumping in
and
there.
Joseph
So
and Don.
It's
the Ham Radio DX FT8 net.
It is the FT8 net. Let's pick a clear frequency, because I don't want to step on top of anyone. Let's go there, and we will now officially call subscribers and viewers on the air.
Awesome.
And I'm running about 20 or 30 watts.
And by we, he means Hayden, because I don't even have a radio set up right now. It's all out in the car.
That is terrible. Okay. So Jim is cheating. He's using 500 watts from Portland. So, okay. So Eric says, I ran 100 watts FT8 with my 7300 for close to 12 hours straight during the ARRL Digi contest. Crushed a 100 amp hour battery.
Nice.
Yeah, I haven't had the issue, but I'm just putting it out there that it could potentially be a problem. So only run the amount of power that you require for whatever you're trying to do.
And you want to know what's really interesting about FT8 killing ham radio? If you're trying to make a lot of contacts and you're good at your craft, if you're a skilled operator, you can make more contacts in the same amount of time on SSB than you could on FT8. FT8 is slower than SSB contacts if you know what you're doing.
I think we proved that, didn't we? At some point, I think we
many times. Yeah.
So, a couple of questions. Ham till it hurts. Do you use rig control with your FT8 like FL rig? No. So my 7300s connect directly with USB into the computer, and all of the rig control is done by the program using cat control. So I don't use anything else to control the rig. I just do it all very basic. But you can buy interfaces for radios that don't have built-in cat control or sound cards.
Right. And so with FL Rig, if you were using another program that used cat control, you can have wsjt-x contact FL Rig, and you can have, let's say, your logging program, Ham Radio Deluxe, contact FL Rig, and the two of them can then contact the radio through one channel. Otherwise, they would be fighting back and forth, and they would complain. If you brought up HRD while you had wsjt-x running, HRD would take over, wsjt-x would complain, and then it would stop transmitting, and you'd have a big warning in front of your screen.
Which is why if you're running multiple instances of wsjt-x, as you said as well, you need to run them separately, which you can do if you want to run two radios, say. Because otherwise, if you open them both up, they'll say, hey, I'm using the COM port. You can't use this COM port. Greg, how do you change frequencies on wsjt-x? So all I did was I just moved the dial on the radio.
And you just moved it again?
No, I didn't, because this is split.
Oh, you're working split. Okay.
This is split. Let me see if I can... I think I need to share my entire screen so that I can show you this. But you can also go into settings, which is... It's going to be hard here because I can't zoom up. in on this, but you can go to the settings frequencies tab, and you can go in here.
You can add
and
one.
You can right click and you can add insert, and you can add a frequency if there's a non-standard frequency that you want to use, or you can just move the dial if you need to as well. Central Coast Adventures, is a vertical or horizontal antenna better for FT8? Any antenna is good for FT8.
Yes.
Whatever you can get up.
So there's an answer to this, but it's not an important answer until you get way far into the weeds. The answer is, to begin with, like Hayden said, whatever antenna you have is the best antenna to use, number one. Number two, if you're using a horizontal antenna and you're trying to contact someone very, very far away, you may not be able to get to them because you might not have the same takeoff angle as if you ran a vertical antenna. You also might be down inside a valley or up on top of a building or whatever. So it really depends on your environment and your mission. And if your mission is to make a long distance contact from down in a valley, then all you got is horizontal, as an example. So we need a little bit more information to truly answer the question, but the short answer is it don't matter until it matters.
Yeah, it's a question. It's a question of, and this is with any antenna, and is the radiation angle is, a lower radiation angle is going to be good for DX if you can see the horizon. But then, as you said, if you live in a valley or something like that, that's where NVIS and stuff comes into play, and higher radiation angle antennas. So the short answer is whichever antenna you can get in the air, and if you can get both a horizontal and a vertical antenna, you can run using the same program, Whisper, and over time you can sort of gradually figure out which antenna is actually performing better. So you can get a lot of data on that. Oh, here we go, finally. I've been calling for ages, and someone's replied to me. 45 auto, other than the shorter time, how is FT8 different than FT4? I haven't done a lot of FT4, but I know that it's used for contesting mainly for the shorter contacts. But that's different frequency. That's a different standard frequency. That's probably about it.
Yep. So other than shorter time, it's also a different protocol, and I don't mean that just because it's got a 4 in it instead of an 8. Like it uses different signaling technologies to send less of a data packet in a shorter amount of time over a wider amount of signal to be heard farther distances, and a lot of people only use it for DX or for contact. So if you actually try to FT4 right now, you'll see that there's less people doing FT4 than the same number of people on FT8. There's probably a variety of reasons for that, including some people just don't even know FT4 exists yet because they're that far behind the times.
Digital analog ham, could you please explain the colors? Excellent. So let's have a look.
They're hideous.
Through...
Is that a good enough explanation?
What?
They're hideous. Is that a good enough explanation?
They are, but you can customize them. So starting with the CQ colors, we've only got very basic colors here at the moment because I'm not listening to the whole band. Basically, what blue means that you've worked this country or this country before, but you haven't worked this call sign. This is what's set up with mine, and I think mine's pretty much out of the box. I think I don't think I've changed any of these colors, so it should be the same for you. So this bluish color means I've worked the USA, but I've never worked that call sign. Green means that I have worked that call sign before, so I've worked Jim before, and that color I think changes again depending on the band as well. If you haven't worked that station on the band, then the color will change.
Hey, Mike.
Red means that there's a station that's calling you, and you're being hailed. Someone's saying, "Hey, I'm calling you," and then yellow means is your transmitted messages. But all of this is customizable. Let me go into here and show you.
I was going to say, perhaps there's some way you could look up what these answers are that would tell you what these colors are.
If you go File and to Settings and then Colors, here they all are. So that reddish is my call. So someone's put my call sign in a message. In other words, they're calling me. or they're pirating me, depending on the occasion. That reddish pinkish is New Continent. Different shade of pink is New Continent on the band. New call sign, as I said, the blue. New call on the band is a slightly different blue. New DXCC. Just green is just regular CQ if you've already worked them before. So they're all in here, and you can go in and change these by right-clicking on them and then changing the colors in here. I think wsjt-x has, and what's the other one? JTDX. JTDX allows you to customize stuff a lot more as well. So there's a few different options there. I hope that explains it.
That does.
Okay, split mode and hold TX frequency. Let's talk about that.
Let's
talk about that.
I'm beginning to understand split mode less, because it always seems to just switch to the half frequency. It doesn't seem to switch to anything other than listening to the whole 3 kilohertz and transmitting at the half mark, no matter what I do.
Okay, so let's get the easy one out of the way. Hold TX frequency. So I recommend everyone turn hold TX frequency on, and there's a big reason for this. So I've just gone and called WM7C on 790 hertz here. So let's bring up the waterfall and have a look at what that looks like. Okay, this is a good example. So WM7C is here. He's calling me on 790 hertz, right? But I am actually transmitting here. I'm transmitting higher up the band at 1,000, just over, what's that, 1,100 hertz. So I haven't shifted my frequency to call him. And what that does is it allows you to pick a section of the band that is free of any transmissions, and you stay there, and that is your slot, and that is the place where you transmit. Because if you don't have that ticked, your transmit frequency will shift all over the place. It'll shift to it'll shift to here, for instance. I've just worked him now. Let me just get that out of the way. It'll shift to 790. Now the problem is that if I'm calling and someone else is calling on the same frequency, and another person is calling on the same frequency, and there's 4 or 5 of us all calling, we're all competing to try and work that station, which can be a problem. We can cause QRM. They may not hear any of us. We'll go over the top of each other, all that sort of thing. So the recommended thing to do is to pick a frequency, tick, hold, transmit frequency, and it doesn't matter because wsjt-x is smart enough that if anyone calls you on the band, so for instance here, I was transmitting on 1060 odd, and I've received all of these stations. They've all called me on all different frequencies here. So it doesn't matter. I don't need to be on their frequency. So it's smart enough to tell me, hey, someone's called you. Here's what frequency they're on. I double click on them and my transmit frequency stays the same. Is that a good way to summarize it up, Tio? Is that what you would say?
Yeah, sure. So it's the same thing. I'll say it in a different manner because some people learn things differently. It's the same thing if you're actually on phone and you're calling somebody. You go and you listen and you listen and you listen and you find a clear spot and you say, is the frequency in use? And nobody answers, so the frequency is not in use. And then you start calling. And then the very first second you work a station, you then randomly spin the dial to somewhere else and you start calling again, whether you know someone's there or not. That's kind of the problem without having hold TX frequency in wsjt-x. You've moved somewhere that you don't know if it's clean or not because the program has moved you, not your brain has moved you, not your good operator skills have moved you. And then you're moving all over the place every single time you talk to a new station, and you're just being I don't even know why the program does this. You're being a bad operator technically because you're just potentially calling on top of everybody all day long as opposed to knowing where you are.
Yeah. And if I show that, let's visualize that on the waterfall again. So you can see when you're picking a transmit frequency, because the program operates in 2 different cycles, an odd cycle and an even cycle on the time. So let the waterfall run through for a few cycles and just see where there's a free frequency. So you can see here there's a couple of signals here. So there's all this room up here, but if this was all crowded and there was no other space, I would probably go, yep, I can go right in there, and I would be pretty clear of QRMing any of their signals.
If you go one to the left, you can see that there's been a bunch of calls placed in there from where you currently are sitting, Hayden. If you go to, I guess, like 800, I guess, right there where your mouse is.
Yep.
You can see that there's somebody that made a call, then there's a blank session, then they made a call, then there's what is now 3 blank sessions. That might appear to be clean, but if you're transmitting, your radio can't hear anymore, so you don't know if it's clean. If you're in the middle of doing, working a whole bunch of stations, you haven't seen anybody on your slice of that waterfall because you don't see any of that slice of the waterfall. That's a harder concept for people to grasp, and I probably could do a better job explaining that.
Let us know if that all makes sense in the chat. The next thing is split mode. So split mode is set up, and as Baltimore Mike's already said in the chat, it's to keep your transmitted frequencies centered in the passband so that you're not drifting outside of the passband.
Mike, I hear what you're saying, and I would like to have a very polite debate about that, because every time I have done that work split segment, so you're normally at 14.074 during receive. If you turn on split, you move to 14.0735, no matter where you are. If I'm at 100, if I'm at 800, if I'm at 1500, if I'm at 2500, it always goes to 14.0735. So how would that keep my transmitting signal centered in the passband?
I thought it shifted more than that. I'll just show you how I've set it up just to answer. I've lost the comment, but whoever asked how to set it up. So so I've got an IC7300. Your radio might be different. If you go to settings and then the radio tab, and then here you've got split operation. You've got none, which means it won't do it.
Right.
Which, if you actually hover over that and you can just see the message that popped up, don't use split, in brackets, not recommended. Okay? So the developers of the program have put not recommended, so to use none. Rig, which this will do is it will use your 2 VFOs in your radio. One will be your receive VFO, and when you transmit, it'll switch to the other VFO, and it will shift the frequency on that VFO. Now, I don't like that because on the 7300, when you do that, it messes up your other VFO, and I think there's an extra relay that clicks when you change to that. So I don't use that. I use Fake It, which what Fake It does is it shifts the frequency a little bit, which is what I think you use too, T.O., because you said that you see that when you transmit. So let's do this as a bit of a test. So let's go. So I'm on 21070 at the moment. Let's shift my frequency all the way up at like 3000 hertz, and I transmit.
Let's do just your wsjt-x screen too, because that's hard to see.
Oh, yep. Good point. Which is a StreamYard issue.
While he's doing that, Joseph, I am not disagreeing. I'm asking and having a debate. I really do not understand this.
Well, see, what you said was a bit confusing to me too, because I do see it shift a little bit. So
I see it shift, but I always see it shift to the exact same frequency when it shifts. It doesn't shift to slightly lower when I'm lower in the passband or slightly higher when I'm higher. It always shifts to 0.5.
So let me try that out. So we're on 21070, and I'm on a TX frequency of let's go 3000 on the dot. Okay, so I'm on 3 kilohertz higher up the band. Now if I transmit when it gets to the right cycle,
it should move from 070. In my case, I believe it's going to move to 0695 or 0715. Same thing.
So that's gone.
I'm not sure if it goes higher or lower.
Right. So now if I go down to the bottom of the band and I go, say, let's go 200 hertz.
You were at 3000, now you're at 200?
Yep.
Okay.
And that should now shift it lower, correct? As far as I understand. to keep it on 21070. There.
Okay, so it did
So
move.
it has gone low. Yes.
You went to 715, now you're at 685. Okay, so I was just seeing the .5 and assuming that it always moved to the same. So that's me. Like I said, I was asking questions.
Yeah. So what it's trying to do is you're transmitting on 1,000 hertz, which is so. See if I select 1,000 hertz, that frequency is effectively 21.071. That should be the frequency that I'm transmitting on. Now, to keep me on that frequency and within that passband, that's why the shift is changing. Now, if I transmit now, it's gone down by 500. Or it did because it just stopped transmitting. But it's shifting you, to keep within that passband so that you're not drifting out, because we've got a 3 kilohertz slice of bandwidth to work with to make sure that we're not all over the place. So it does shift it up and down. So if you're running split, then definitely run split. Mike says if you don't use fake it or split and transmit from the edges, some funky power output can happen.
I believe that because you're going to roll off your filters.
So
I have learned something. Thank you all.
Liberty Cave, how do you set the have worked that call sign color? I think I showed that earlier, but I'll just bring it up again, and apologies again for the small screen because I can only share. I can't share the settings window, which is really annoying in a easy to see format. So file, settings, colors, and then once you work someone, they will no longer be blue. I don't think there is a way that you can set a color for have worked. Do you know that, T.O.? I don't.
You were saying that you were saying the bright green, the blue is a new country, and the green is a station that you've worked before from a country.
The green is a station
Jim was your example.
A green is a station that you've worked before that's calling CQ. It's just a regular CQ message. So I guess that you could change that. You could definitely change that from green to something else.
Yeah, because in your receive decode window, you have cyan is USA and New Zealand, and then you have Jim is green from USA, and that was your distinction between cyan and green.
But there is a big problem here because, let me just show Jim as an example. Because Jim's now calling me. I have no idea. Because he's calling me, I have no idea if I've worked him before.
But go up 4 where he's green.
I know, but I can only tell that because he's been calling CQ. If I was calling CQ and then he called me without him calling CQ himself, I'd have no idea that I've worked him before. Does that make sense?
Right.
So
he was green because he's calling CQ. So blue, what is the cyan, the blue color for ZL4NT?
So camping and ham radio, for the colors to change for all the possible options, you have to scan a log file with the confirmations inside the file. This means an export from the LOTW or your logging software. wsjt-x does, if you've got it set up, does allow you to log automatically your contacts, which isn't popping up at the moment because it's a settings window when I work someone. It uses that to find out who you've worked. But actually, this is a good point because someone asked me this the other day in an email saying, hey, I keep working the same people over and over again because they're calling me. So he's like, I call CQ and then they call me back, but I've got no idea that I've worked them before. And I don't know if you can do that in wsjt-x. But if they're calling CQ and you're scanning through, so like Jim, like if I go through here, I can see I haven't worked Liberty Cave before, but I've worked Jim because he's green. So I know that because he's called CQ. If that makes sense, or is that just all gibberish? I'm asking you, Tango Oscar.
Tango Oscar. Yeah, so I think on my computer, the green is a station that's just calling CQ, whether I've heard them before or not. And then I've never paid attention to the cyan. I look at red to see who's calling me. I look at green to see who's calling CQ. And a lot of times I just tick that CQ only box, so I only see CQs.
Oh, this one up here.
Yeah, right under the decode window.
Yep. Okay. Goodness me, there's all these messages coming in, which is fantastic. I just haven't had the chance to get to them. Now, how does ham radio work for a vegan?
It doesn't.
I don't. No. It's all meat. Is there a problem with contacting one person multiple times? Not really. Nope. Not really. No. I mean, it also too depend. That's going to be per band as well. Like if you stick to one band and you continually are working the same person all the time on the one band, you might get a bit sick and tired of it.
Yeah. But, it just depends on your missions. Some people have rules that say I can't contact the same person on the same band on the same day. I have to wait a day. Some people just contact people at random, whether they've worked them before or not. I mean, I've done CQ POTA on FT8 and worked the same person 6 times in the same 3-hour period. And I'll just work him fine, because that makes him go away if you work him for a little while.
The other thing that I also see too, so not necessarily on the lower HF bands, but definitely on 10 meters and 6 meters and some of the higher bands, maybe some of the lower bands, but not as much. Some people will call and they'll change their message here to call CQDX, okay? Now, or they'll change, because it also works for, you can actually put in, where is it?
What are you trying to put in?
No, there's another message. I can't remember. Is it in the help? Is it here? It's not showing up. That's okay. You can also call by continent. So I can put in CQ North America. And Grid Tracker actually, if you run Grid Tracker recognizes that. And it highlights the whole continent on Grid Tracker. If anyone's calling, though, mainly calling CQDX, and you're in the same country as them, don't try to call them, because it's more than likely they're not trying to call you. So, for instance, it's a big problem here on, say, 10 and 6. If you're calling CQDX, you're not interested in working Australia. You're interested in, and maybe you're not even New Zealand, you're interested in working a lot further away. And if you keep calling them, it's more than likely they're not going to respond to you, because it's not that they're ignoring you, they're just trying to call DX. They're not trying to call locally. So that's another thing that you might come across. Oh dear, I am scrolling through all of the comments. This is excellent discussion. Don, 2 radios. Can I run 4 sessions of wsjt-x off one radio?
He's saying I can, not can I, by the way.
Oh.
He can.
How can you?
He's got multiple slices on his radio.
How does wsjt-x handle the communications with the radio?
He's actually running 4 different open computer programs of wsjt-x. He's got 4 screens of wsjt-x running at the same time. You have to tell it which config file to use.
What I know you can do that, but with separate radios, how does it go with one radio using one COM port though?
Because he's using a fancy radio that has slices, and I don't know anything more than that. But right. On a flex radio, you can have multiple slices. On an ELAD, you can have multiple slices, and depending on which radio you can have a certain number of slices. I think on the Flex it's 6, and on the ELAD it's 2 as an example, but the numbers aren't important. Just the fact that, be aware that some radios can do it. Like the 7300 cannot do slices.
W0DAN, and a question from earlier, does the amount of ALC change with different amounts of power? Yes, it does. So if you adjust your ALC for, say, 100 watts and then you crank it all the way back to 2 watts or something like that, you'll see that the ALC meter will go up. So you do need to adjust it. Every now and then. It's okay if you've got a little bit, just don't drive it. At least I keep using the 7300 because that's the radio that I use, and I mean there's a lot of people that use 7300s. It's got a little red bar. I wouldn't go anywhere past halfway on that red bar at all. I would stay on the lower end.
I try to have no ALC at all on any radio, and it depends on which your radio is as to whether, like a Zygu radio, no ALC is 100 on a 0 to 100 scale, which is indeed backwards according to our thinking, and on an ICOM, no ALC is 0 on the scale.
But if you go 0 ALC and then just look at what your power output is, you should be getting close to full output power that you're set at. Even with no ALC, you don't need to crank it up to get it to get more.
You don't want ALC.
No. But if you go too far back, but what I'm saying is if you go too far back, your output power will drop. So if you adjust the power slider here, it's really annoying. I wish that they would change this to say TX volume, audio out or something else. They use power. Adjusting this up and down, if you go too low, your power output will drop. Look at all these stations calling me. Let me call ZL because that's closest.
They're saying that your mic might be going over FT8 frequencies, by the way. You might be miking out SSB. No, my mic isn't. I've got the... So that's another point. Here we go. I've got to change my settings again. Again. Here we go. If I go File, Settings, and then Radio, and then you can see the mode is set to Data Packet. So my radio automatically switches into the data mode, and my microphone in that data mode is set up so that it only takes audio from the rear USB and not from my actual audio. I don't fall asleep. No, I don't fall asleep on 80 meters snoring with the Vox on. So right.
For those who have seen that on X.
Oh, that would be funny.
Colin.
Jody's saying the same person who was impersonating you earlier is playing your stream through his radio.
Are they? Oh, fantastic. Excellent. Hello to everyone on whatever band we're on.
Right.
Colin, yes, you get more context if you hold TX instead of moving onto the stations you're calling TX frequency. Yep. And see, Jody, that person, whoever that is what we know in the business as a sad ham who has nothing else better to do than to watch us and play us over the air. So, Colin says 10 meters is starting to come to life. Maybe we'll switch back to 10 soon. I'm trying to...
You're not having any luck making contacts.
No, but...
You moved over to Liberty Cave, WS7PB.
Yeah, I saw Liberty calling me, so I thought I'd go back. But no, not having a lot of luck here at the moment. I am still only running like 30 watts, so I probably should crank the power up. Let me do that for the next transmission.
Yeah, and when I do my FT8 videos on like how to FT8 with a certain radio, I show you how to set the power slider and the volume control and the ALC settings on your radio. And I actually show on the power output meter how that affects your power output. It does. You would think that lowering your power, which lowering your power slider, like Hayden was talking about, lowers your output on your radio, but it actually removes ALC, which means you're putting out a better, higher quality signal, which means more power out of the radio. So you can actually see it in real time if you're watching it on the meter while you're playing with all the different settings.
There you go. ZL4NT got my signal before. Okay, so Taylor, is wsjt-x smart enough to automatically select odd-even TX slot based on who you're trying to contact? Yes, It does. It'll change. I'm not sure if I can get an example. If I go... So I'm on even at the moment. If I select K6 EGG, no, they're on even as well. But yeah, basically when you double click, so you double click on the call sign that you want to work or if someone's calling you, then this will change automatically.
So Don is saying that
the
ALC settings don't work on the Flex, the Anon, or the Anon, or the Hermes. Awesome.
Mike always fakes it, which is good.
That explains a lot, actually.
So Joe, going back to the split, it keeps audio between 1500 and 2000 hertz.
I just didn't know. I thought that it always moved to the same .5 frequency, and as Hayden demonstrated, it moves to 68.5, 69.5, 71.5. So totally makes sense now. I just never saw it do that before. I just ignored it. So I learned something.
Yeah, so that's what we demonstrated. We can hear your mic over HF.
Nice. That's the one I was talking about.
Yeah, it's not my mic. It's probably someone else. It's playing us over the frequency.
So Matt wants the TLDR on the problem and solution. The problem is that people whine, and the solution is to ignore them.
Yeah. Well, yes. And speaking about the earlier problem as well about people using FT8 over other conventional modes, the solution is to just divvy it up and mix it up a little bit occasionally. So work FT8 during the quiet times when the bands are dead or it's relatively, or if you're trying to specifically work someone. Finally, Liberty Cave, Roger 73.
Nice.
The solution is just get on all of the bands and all of the modes. Don't just restrict yourself to FT8. Get on everything and anything.
Enjoy your radio. Have fun. Do what you want to do. Don't worry about other people.
And proof that SSB isn't dead. You said before you worked. What was it? 45
contacts in an hour today.
Yeah,
on 20 meters.
I just tried to double click on this call sign, but I double clicked it on the StreamYard and made that full screen by accident. Actually, Eric probably has a good point. That's probably someone listening to the live stream and also has their audio going to their radio. Okay, so let's talk about that for a little while. So, particularly I think the Yasus are the same, the ICOMs are the same. They're the two that I can speak for. In the menus, and we've done videos on setting up your radio correctly for FT8 or wsjt-x operation. When you go into the menus and you select your audio source, so where is the audio coming from for that particular mode? So you have two modes. You have your regular USB mode, which you're using to make SSB contacts, and then you've got USB-D because all FT8 is done on upper sideband, regardless of the frequency. So you've got upper sideband data. We say data. I say data. Data mode.
Data.
And in the menu, you can select where does your audio come from. Now, you have to be careful that it's not selected from your front microphone because, as mentioned, if it comes from your front microphone, all of a sudden all of your audio is going to be sent, over the air from your shack. So if it's from your USB and USB only and your program is set up to use that properly, then you won't have any problems. Jonathan, the real problem is Tio, you're going to love this comment. Each application can use different audio sources and outputs. Most people don't even know how to change these settings, so you get wanted grid on the audio from FT8. Yeah, so yes,
Jonathan, you want to buy a Windows laptop? I got one for sale.
You had a massive problem with that, didn't you? How did you fix that?
I bought a Mac.
Yeah.
I didn't have a problem with Windows audio settings. I had a problem with Windows just crashing and being a general pain in the rear end.
Yeah, so Jody has this problem where everyone will pop up, and just as you go to double click on a call sign, you'll click on something on the wrong call sign because this band activity window refreshes very quickly. So
That's another reason why I do CQ only.
yep. I guess I'll have to learn FT8 so I can participate in the ham radio. Bingo. Been avoiding FT8, just prefer voice contacts. Hey, look, it's perfectly fine to prefer voice contacts. As we mentioned before, it's good to get on SSB. It's just that FT8 fills a little bit of a void when it comes to lower bands. Let's go up to 10 meters. So I'm going to go to the standard 10 meter frequency.
Sure. So Gary's saying, why would anyone buy a Mac? Gary, because I buy a Mac because I like my operating system to be a computer operating system, not a advertising billboard on my desktop that sends me the latest political news to piss me off. I just want to work on my computer. If I want to look at the news, I'm capable of going and finding it.
Liberty Cave, decode, fast, normal, or deep, and why? I'm not sure. Actually, this is a question that...
I can do this one.
Yeah, because I'm not sure. I wasn't sure if it affects FT8 or not, but yeah, go ahead.
It's your decodes on the left side, and if you have a slower computer or you just aren't interested in having that window be full, then do fast. If you want to get every single decode possible, you need a faster computer. Like as an example, a Raspberry Pi 3 can barely decode the entire 15-second pass. You'll actually see it start to decode more stations as you're already like halfway through the next because it's still trying to process that audio. Deep is when you're really, really trying to work a hard station that you know is out there, but you can't see them. And then the other one is to enable the a priori mode, which is awesome because that will take, it kind of sounded like Liberty Cave. And from some of the other data from some of the previous decodes and some of the other things that I'm intelligent enough as a smart piece of software, I'll be able to know that was him or guess that was him and suggest that it was him, and then you can kind of make the contact. Gary, nothing is wrong with Linux at all. I use it for everything that I can except for programs that do not like Linux very much, like video editing, which is a lot of what I do. So that's where I'm stuck right now. Nothing wrong with Linux.
I did see that pop in. Okay, this is another one for you, the Zygu 6100. Are there any gotchas with it?
There are lots and lots and lots of gotchas with the X6100, but I've got the X6100 and I enjoy it because it's a hacking, fun little compact radio that is packed with a lot of mostly working features. If you're going to do FT8 on the X6100, it's very easy. The hardest part about it is to plug in the right USB port on the side of the radio. One of them is for mice and one of them is for data signals coming out of the radio. So other than that, I mean, it's, you're getting every bit of a $600 radio.
And if you want to learn more, there is the link in the chat to Tio's channel because you've got tons of videos on the X6100 in there.
I do, literally, like a ton.
So Eric's talking about the audio issues again. You also want to make sure that your Windows audio doesn't default to being sent to the radio. Yep. And we demonstrated this, I think it was last week, was it? I plugged in my radio or turned my 7300 on and it changed my default audio on my microphone in StreamYard. So Windows does funky things. It changes default audios all the time.
I set StreamYard up to use this microphone, period. Windows.
That's what yes.
Nope. I do what I want, whether you tell me otherwise or not. I am the operating system. You are just a worthless user. How dare you?
Yeah. Leave default Windows audio to your speakers, headphones, and wsjt-x to your USB sound card. And by doing that, you can, and here we go again with our small screen, but you'll get the point. Follow along at home. File. What happens if I do this? No, that still doesn't help. File, settings, audio. This audio here, don't pick the correct device in here, as per what Eric said, and then make sure that, and I can't show you the Windows audio here, or can I? No, I can't do that. Make sure that that's set to just your speakers so that you don't have the two clash. I hope that makes sense. Probably not. Tell me about it. The news widget. Goodness me.
Yes.
Windows is a pain for that.
I stopped liking Windows at Windows 7. He's just agreeing with my rant.
Oh, right. Yep. Okay.
Windows 7 was the last good Windows. Windows 8 was the death knell. And it was funny because Windows 10 sucked when it first came out, and then Windows 11 just kind of put it to shame with how much suck it had. So I went back to Windows 10, and now I have a laptop that'll run 10 or 11, and it's for sale because I don't want it no more.
Well, see, from what I can remember, Windows XP was the best of the Windows operating systems. XP, I think, is still used on a stack of I went
ATMs.
There was a point of sale.
machines.
Yeah, there was a point of sale machine in a store the other day that was still running Windows XP. I hope that they don't have it connected to the internet. But Windows 7, when it first came out, sucked as well. It was terrible. And then they released, I think, Service Pack 1, which had a bunch of features changed, and it fixed it. Windows 8 was just no good at all. And then 8.1, don't even, what was the point? And then Windows 10 kind of took, to me, it felt like Windows 10 kind of took the best parts of Windows XP and mashed them together with 7, and they made 10 and fixed all of the crap in 8 to make 10.
But left all of the anti-privacy stuff in from Windows 8 and then doubled down on the anti-privacy stuff. My favorite thing was when you disabled it all and then ran it up Windows Update, and it re-enabled all of them on your behalf because that's what it thought you wanted.
And the problem with 10 was that there was an issue where you'd have, and it still is in 11, you'd have the classic control panel. You'd have two ways of changing something. So like Eric said before, if you went into sound settings, you could go through the old school way of going into control panel sound settings, and you would get the old dialog box that kind of looks like, let me give you a bit of an example here because I'm running Windows 10.
Don, that K6USY guy gets me all the time too.
If you go to here and you go to control panel and you go to sound, this is this is what you'd be used to, right? Of your audio settings. The problem is that in Windows 10, they decided to add in this settings so that you could then go
there's like
to
4 different places to go set your audio up. It's ridiculous.
Sound, and then you go in here, and then you'd be able to set your individual managed sound devices. And it's like all this just does not make any sense and you click on troubleshoot, and it would be like, hey, it doesn't seem to be working. We're not going to do anything about that.
You can set it by application also.
Yeah.
So there's not only is there 5 different places to set it, there's 5 different places per application to set it as well.
Yeah. Confusing. But hey, we all love Windows, right?
No. Not playing this game.
When Windows 12 comes out, we'll all start saying 11 because good 12 sucks.
Right.
Oh, dear. NT4, yep.
7, yep. 7's my baby.
7. Maybe we should. Oh, hello! Look who's popped up. We should see who's. We should do a poll. We should do another poll. Actually, let's check the poll. So we've had, holy moly, we've had 225 votes. 71% say that they think that FT8 is awesome. 7% say that they hate it, and 22% have never used it. So the 22% who've never used it, check out our channels. We've got lots of how-to guides and beginner guides. Let me just end that poll and let's start a new one because I think that this is very important. What are we saying? We're saying which Windows version?
Right.
Which Windows version are we saying sucks the most?
Double negative. Start with version 1, then add 286, then add 386, then add 2, then add 3, then add 3.1, then 3.11.
Hang on, I can only have 4 options. Windows
Right.
8, Windows 7. There we go. We can only let's just say Windows XP. We've taken off that because Windows XP is apparently the gold standard, from what I've heard. Okay, people are voting. Oh, Windows 11 and 8. It's Windows 8's. I don't know. Windows 8's apparently worse than Windows 11.
That tells you the average age of your audience is young, right?
It does. It does.
They've never used Windows 7 is what I'm saying.
No, you said Windows 7 was good though. I thought Windows 7 was good.
I like Windows 7.
I said Windows 7
as
sucked.
old as we are.
Yeah, Windows 7 sucked when it first came out. But when they released the first service pack, it was okay. Oh, hold on. No, Don's won it. Don's already won it. Windows
Vista was worse than ME.
Oh, I forgot about them too.
I've used them all.
Yeah, well, so have I. I'm not that old. Windows 98 was awesome though. Everyone loved Windows 98.
I used Windows on an 8088.
Okay, now I am. That is too old.
It was 10 megahertz, so it wasn't bad.
Colin, no, 8 sucked big time. 8.1 was just 0.1 better.
1/10 better.
Well, I keep calling N8YO. I can't. Hey, this is interesting. VK7HH. Hi, YouTube. 2942. Yep. Who was transmitting on 2942? The previous 29. We don't want to shame anyone, do we? No one. They're smart enough to change their frequency.
They moved in and moved out. Wave off,
yeah,
wave off.
They did. Windows NT, anyone?
Jonathan,
Windows
my first
98.
CPU was an 8088, but I have had many 6502s. I have a channel where I build 6502 computers. Awesome, William. Congrats. There was a giveaway on the FT8 Frequency Frenzy. If you want to challenge FT8, then start playing poker on FT8.
I need to do some giveaways on this channel soon because I have way too many things here in the shack that I need to get rid of. So we'll need to do that sometime soon.
Now's good.
And, well, I would do it now. However, I do have a few other things which we need to get to before we do that. So we might need to save that for another time.
Eric, I agree.
The other thing that we need to do too is just mention that we definitely will be having a giveaway at some point soon. That's because this is the current subscriber count here on the channel.
Nice.
Which is going quite well, which is exceeding anything that I thought was ever possible. So 46,114. If you're not subscribed, hit that subscribe button. I guarantee you that number will go down.
Guarantee you'll like it or your money back.
Yeah, well, that's true. So yeah, when we get to 50,000, we'll definitely do a giveaway. Look at that! It just went up.
Fun.
If by any chance we get to 50,000 by the end of the year, we might do a massive giveaway. Maybe we'll give away like a 7,300 or something. That'll please Don.
Twice as many subscribers as I do.
Do I?
More than twice. Yeah, I'm at 20,000. You're at 46,000.
Someone needs to get on to your channel and subscribe. I think we put a link in there earlier, so scroll back up and find that. Here we go. Someone's asked, what is To's channel? That is
Temporarily Offline Ham Radio.
Right there, linked up. So make sure that
Thank
you
you,
get that. What should we do? What should we do when we get to 50,000? I just don't know what we should give away. We should definitely give away a big ticket item. I was
lots
hoping
of little giveaways.
I was hoping that we'd definitely do that. I was hoping that we'd get there by the end of
Travel and Ham is right.
I was hoping that we'd get there by the end of the year, but I don't think that's going to happen. So, what Aussie Ham Radio, Don? And yes, congratulations, because you got 20K just the other day, didn't you?
Yeah, like yesterday.
That's awesome.
Or 2 days ago. Have I used the VG4 antenna much yet? I have used it the one day that I set it up for the video, and then we used it for field day, and it was fantastic. I've got like 6 channels, Frank.
Give away a ute. I will never own a ute. I don't want a ute.
A 1985 Toyota Hilux.
Well, see, utes, the problem with utes is that their handling is a bit crap because you've got no weight in the back of the car, for starters, which, and I don't really have a
Jesse, legend.
Oh, an Apache. Yeah, okay. No, well, I mean, I don't know how much they are, so I don't really want to commit to giving that away. But hey, if we get to 50,000 subscribers by the end of the year, then I will consider it. Okay. Hold on before I go on to the next comment. Dave asks, how much power are you using? I can hear multiple VK and ZL stations, but not you. So I'm not transmitting right now. I wasn't transmitting.
Like 20, you said?
No, well, I switched to 10 meters, which has a different power level. I'm running 50 watts on 10 meters. I'm running the DX Commander, which is a ground-mounted vertical antenna. I don't have my normal vertical antenna, which usually is much higher up. So I am not running that. Jody says you give away a collapsible didgeridoo that turns into a mast. Hey, that's an idea.
We call those spider beams.
Give away a DX Commander. Yeah, it could do that, definitely. If we give away, we can. Well, I will more than likely be able to organise for him to ship one if to a winner. So we can do that when we get to 50,000. But we have a long way to go. Need another 4,000. We need another 4,000 people to watch the stream to get there. Gary, though, going back to Gary, have a beer on me. Thank you, Gary. I appreciate that. Now, Gary, I noticed you put a comment in earlier, something about a call sign. I think you said that you just got your call sign. Just for my reference, my call sign is G7RES. Cool. Thank you very much, Gary. I appreciate the £5. And welcome to Scott. Scott has become a new YouTube member, so thank you very much for your support.
Eric wants you to give away a drop bear.
Oh, there we go. See, it's not just FT8 that has the same problem. It's when you click on someone's and then
comment. The chat moves.
Yeah, drop bear or bust. Does everyone know what a drop bear is? They are terrifying.
That's all I know.
Yeah, they are the most terrifying thing on the planet.
So N0VFI is talking about the Xiegu VG4 antenna. The other one that you can look at if you want something to compare it to is the Hustler BTV, band trapped vertical is what BTV stands for, which is the same thing as the VG4. The VG4, by its name, is 4 bands. The 6 BTV, the 4 BTV, or the 8 BTV have that many bands based on their numbers in them. So 6, 8, and 4.
So the polls caused some confusion. Someone voted for Windows 10 because they thought they clicked on which one was the best, not which one was the worst. So there's the drop bears, otherwise known as koalas, which they do not drop on people. However, the most dangerous thing about a koala is the fact that they have chlamydia. So there you go.
Oh, nice. Little STD action for you. Perfect.
Yep.
So I don't know if you saw that.
They are the cutest. Yes, I was getting to that. They are the most cutest animals, koalas. They're the most docile though because they just chew on eucalyptus leaves all day and they are stoned, literally all day. But they are lovely, lovely animals and they don't drop out the sky.
Rado Slew, how to change your vote? There is no way. Jody, go.
5 Ham Radio DX memberships. Thank you very much, Jody. That's excellent. Who do they go to? Because I don't know. Do we know who they go to?
You can tell in the YouTube chat, I think it is. And somebody had just said thank you to Jody, VE5SAR, thank you. And I can't find it now because it's scrolled. There it is. KB5UTY. Dave got one.
Oh, excellent. I'm assuming is it just random? It must be just random. or is it, or do you get to pick?
I've never been on the receiving side of it, so I actually don't know. That's too dark.
Pamela says, I'm still using Windows 7 Ultimate, not going to change to any other version until I have to.
There we go. That's not bad. Still brighter than you are.
Thank you very much for that, Jody. Oh, purely random. Been on both sides of the deal. Excellent.
Awesome,
cool.
Jody. Thank you.
Awesome. Well, congratulations to whoever got the memberships, and thank you very much, Jody, for...
If you're already a member, you don't get one because you're already a member, which is
Or
why
do
I
you
didn't
get-
get one.
Or do you get a month for free or something? I'm not sure.
Interesting, because I think it's just a 1 month membership.
Yeah. Going back to the poll. So the poll is telling us that we have 99 votes. How do we have 99 votes and we've got 186 people watching? Is half the amount of people driving and not able to vote? So the poll at the moment with 100 votes. We've also only got 93 thumbs ups as well. So make sure you like the stream as well.
Give Hayden the thumb.
Yeah, well, the thumb is better than the finger, I can tell you that now. So
Takes less effort too. Thumbs are
Windows
smaller.
8 is officially the worst Windows version, which sucked the most according to our poll. Windows 11 comes in second place with 32%. Windows 10 narrowly edges out Windows 7 by about 5%. So there you go. And Adam is currently driving. I thought so. So we've got about 90 people that are currently driving, listening to our ramblings in the.
So
in the
Ken
car.
says it will not load on mobile.
Oh, really? Oh, okay. Oh,
Jody's right.
have you clicked? New poll? Have you clicked the thumbs up, or are you driving? If so, Scott's discovered too that as a YouTube member, you also get the use of emojis in the chat, and one of the emojis is a little TO face. So I just posted those in there now. So little TO faces are quite cool to use.
There's two different ones.
Well, so this is the point too. So Colin says Windows 11. This is interesting. Windows 11 works fine with all my ham software and it's fast. So I have Windows 11 on my laptop, and I bought my laptop specifically last year. Not last year, in May, for when I went over to the US so that I could use it. I didn't realize how big the laptop was. It was massive. It was like a 15-inch screen. So that runs Windows 11, and that runs a lot of the programs that I need fine. The thing, though, that makes it run better is that I can modify. I had to do some registry modifications to get it to work with what I wanted it to work with, if that makes sense. So, like, there was menus, I think the right-click menu on the desktop, rather than your traditional menus, it comes up with some weird menu. So I had to fix that. I just wish someone would come up with a script or something where you could just run it and it would just fix and get rid of all of the, I call it bloatware, the bloatware that comes with Windows 11.
There is a couple of debloat Windows script repositories out there.
Oh, that's what we need. Can you do a video on that and post that up? On how to fix the real way to fix Windows 11. But you don't have a laptop anymore, do you? So you can't.
It's still for sale. It's sitting in the bag unused. It needs to go to a good home. Mine is the 17-inch version of the laptop. It's a beast.
James says, any thoughts on the FT8X10?
Shh. We have an answer for this. We have about an hour's worth of answers for this, don't we?
We do. While you talk about that, let me find the link to it.
So Hayden and I occasionally do these, us versus them streams where we put the picture of the radio up and we basically roast them both for an hour and figure out which one is better out of the two. And I think we did a 7300 versus FT8X10, and we did a FT8X10 versus FT710. And then we did like a all HF radios against all HF radios argument. And then recently we did cheap HT versus expensive HT. And we've been all over the place on that. We love doing that. It's a lot of fun.
And the best part of that is the chips.
Yes, chips are awesome.
So we give it chips. So there's the link to that if you want to check it out. If you do have any suggestions on radio comparisons or any even antenna comparison. Maybe we should do an antenna comparison next stream, or we'll just anything like that. Let us know in the comments, because we were going to do one this week, but I just didn't have any ideas, because we've done cheap handhelds to death, and I didn't really want to do one of those.
I think the hardest one that we've done has been the 710 versus the FT8X10. It's still a hard choice, because they both have redeeming values, and there's enough non-overlap that you might want to get both, but there's enough overlap that you don't want to get both. So yay.
Yeah. Yep. And I think from memory is the 710 is slightly cheaper. Right?
Right now you can get the 710 Field without the extra speaker, and it's a lot cheaper. So there you go, the VG4 versus the 4BTV.
Is that the Hustler antenna versus what's the other one?
The Zygo VG4. The Zygo VG4 is a 4-band trap vertical.
T2 LT, otherwise known as a flower pod antenna, otherwise known as an end-fed half-wave versus vertical end-fed half-wave antenna versus other vertical comparisons. No.
Vertical end-fed half-wave versus Rybakov versus 9-1.
Versus dipole versus car versus the world. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Coffeeandhamradios.com.
Antenna face-off. Antennas are a funny thing, though, because it's like it all depends. Like it all depends on how much room you have. How much are you going to build it? Are you going to buy it? How high are you going to get it? How low are you going to put it? What coax are you going to feed it with? There's lots of variables.
BKW versus G5RV.
Yeah, let's not talk about those two antennas, especially
that one
G5
antenna.
RV.
I have a G5RV, and I am waiting for an opportunity when I have the right amount of time to do it justice, because it gets a bad rap because it is not what it is sold to be, which is not G5RV's fault.
Let's see. Well, that's it. It was a 20-meter antenna, right?
Yep.
So, and then everyone just decided, hey, let's try and put it on other bands.
It does work on other bands. It's just not great.
Yeah, I mean, I've got a G5RV on out in the garage as well, and we've spoken about this previously as well, about G5RVs and how not to install them.
It's got a very specific way of installing it, and it works on a very specific band, and it works very well in the compromised back garden of Lewis's house.
Lewis has probably gone to sleep. I don't think he runs a G5.
Oh no! Lewis is G5RV, not Ring Me Manchester Lewis.
Not other Lewis. I thought you meant other Lewis. Jody, even the testing of antennas can be a bugger because you can't win. Simultaneous testing may introduce parasitic effects, and sequential testing introducing changing conditions. See, I mentioned before too about using Whisper. So Whisper is another mode which is within wsjt-x, which you can select to gather data on how well your antenna is getting out. The only thing is that data can be a bit subjective because it can change depending on what conditions are doing. So like one day conditions might be awesome on one antenna, and then the next day conditions might not be that good, and you'll put it down to the fact that your antenna's like one antenna is super awesome and the other one's not. So you kind of need to take that into account as well.
And you have to like ground all your old wires.
Well, see, a good way of testing one antenna versus the other is to get multiple signals from different stations and have a switch, antenna switch.
At the exact same time. I call Hayden, I say, I'm on antenna A, how do I sound? Great, now I'm on antenna B, how do I sound? Now I'm back to A, how do I sound? And you do that a couple of times.
Yep. And sometimes you can say, hey, I'm on antenna A, and then I'm just switching to antenna B, and you don't switch it, and you leave it on antenna A. And then if someone says, oh, you sound heaps better, well, that's interesting because I'm still on the same antenna.
The placebo effect.
Oh, yes. Here's a great stream idea. Don says we can do sad hams versus lids versus wankers. That's that is an hour's easy worth of content.
Can we get Chris on and we can talk about the fourth option? The favorite New Zealander word?
Favorite New Zealander word.
It's their version of the F word. Starts with a C.
Oh, that's not a New Zealand thing.
SEAWARD.
That's that's not a New Zealand thing. Hang on, I didn't bring that comment up. I brought this one up. Jonathan, don't run over 100 watts with Whisper.
Nice,
yes.
Jeff.
So we spoke earlier about the problem with FT8 being high duty cycles. That's only 15 seconds worth of transmission. If you then switch to Whisper and you forget to adjust your transmit power and you're pumping 100 watts, you will kill your radio because it transmits for 2 minutes. And especially if you run at a higher percentage cycles, like if you're running at like 20% or 25%, it's going to be transmitting like once every 2 or 3 minutes. And it's going to be transmitting for 2 minutes all the time. So, yeah, you're going to get a very hot radio.
Hey, Jim.
That said, I have run 100 watts on Whisper before, but don't tell anyone that.
Just watch the temperature gauge on your radio because the 7300 has one built in.
As an experiment on 2 meters, I did that. Benjamin, this is why we contact people over and over on FT8, antenna testing.
Stay for the blue smoke, right?
Oh, I don't think I'll put Liberty Caves coming up. How about arguing K8 MRD about APRS? We wouldn't argue. We don't argue with anyone. We don't argue with Mike. We would have a friendly debate. We had a bit of a we had a good joke at Hamvention about APRS because we knew that Mike was carrying his HT around on APRS, his FT5D, which I still have not gotten mine out of the box, and we would send messages using our APRS handhelds to him. That's like I've got one that I sent to Mike that was like APRS is life to like K8 MRD or something like that. And the funny thing is the Kenwood's not too bad to type out a message. It takes time, but it took I think Mike ages to type out messages.
Oh, it does. Yeah.
On the
FT5 sucks on typing APRS messages.
So I'd send an APRS message and then I'd get it probably about half an hour later.
You will never win that argument with Mike because Mike will never cede the battlefield.
He will never back down, never surrender.
I'm not saying he's right. I'm saying he will never surrender.
Well, see, APRS is, APRS is not just VHF though. It's HF as well. So APRS is used actually quite a bit in the outback here. So there's a lot of people that use it on, I think it's 20 meters. No, 30 meters. 30 meters and 20 meters are the two APRS frequencies. And they run 300 baud, which allows them to get out. So,
CQDX Barbecue. I would love to go to WIA convention in Bundy on Star Wars Day 2024. However, I can't afford it.
That is on May the 4th, 2024. And potentially, I'm not quite sure where I'm going at the moment. I was planning on coming over to Hamvention again for 2024, but
nice.
But a certain airline who Air New Zealand will remain nameless decided to cancel their direct service from Hobart to New Zealand, which was my two-hop journey to Chicago to get to Hamvention. So I'm going to have to work out an alternative if that's going to happen, and I haven't really thought about it yet. So otherwise, I might be in Bundaberg, which is Bundy, by the way, for those who don't know where Bundy is. Apparently, the random wire seen Mick Dundee on APRS. That's interesting.
Nice.
So yeah, I think we've talked about all of the major problems with FT8, and I think that we've come up with some very valuable and insightful solutions. Is there anything else that you want to add, T.O.?
Live long and prosper, everybody.
That is...
Speaking of Star Wars. Yes, I did that on purpose.
Is Jim still in the chat too? Big Jim, are you still there? Because one of the things that like talking about FT8 and running massive power, and see, a lot of people don't know this, is that Big Jim just every single time on FT8, all he ever does is